This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call the Community Development Authority meeting to order for Tuesday, January 4th. Roll call, please.
Mayor Fieldsky.
Here.
Keith Lucius.
Here.
Jim Christensen.
Here.
Brian Vandekreek.
Here.
Bruce Semke.
Here.
Gary Paul. And Quebecki's excused.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remember all the men and women throughout the world in uniform. I have no changes to the agenda. I need a motion to approve, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action on the minutes from the regular meeting of December 7th, 2021. I
Move
have,
to approve. Any corrections?
there is no corrections.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, action items. A, action regarding offer to purchase CDA-owned parcels VA-859 and VA-883 at 1580 West Main Avenue and 1571 Cypress Road from Alliance Maintenance LLC. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for meeting today. As indicated on the agenda, I did receive a formal offer to purchase from a group called Alliance Maintenance LLC. They have a number of apartment complexes across Brown County in the area, most notably probably the Howard Commons project and the YMCA in Howard, as well as near Crystal Lake and Bellevue. That's also their project. They saw these two parcels were available from the CDA, submitted a formal offer to purchase in the amount of $473,000, roughly $50,000 per acre or so. Those two parcels are part of the original business park plat going back many, many years before I was here. They've been vacant and farmed since that time. As you can see on the map, there is existing multifamily development immediately to the west of the property between Cypress Road and West Main Avenue. And then to the east of the highlighted properties are a couple office buildings, one of which was formerly the Paul Mitchell School, now it's Jack Schrader Associates, and then also the former the Skyline advertising graphics. Immediately to the south is the American Family Corporate campus, and then to the north is some mini warehousing, other miscellaneous uses, as you can see in the town of Lawrence. That's an old existing island in the town that just came about as a result of annexations over the years. The request from the offer to purchase is to purchase the property for use as or development of an apartment complex on both properties. In the packet, there is an example of what they have done at Howard Commons as far as design. That is not representative of what necessarily would be developed here. It will be a 2-story development, but as far as exterior materials, will need to meet the Village of Ashwaubenon site plan review and design standards in terms of use of exterior materials specifically. As staff, we've reviewed the offer to purchase. We believe it to be a fair offer. We do have identified a couple conditions that we'd recommend be included with the offer to purchase, including rezoning from BP Business Park to R3 multifamily residence, site plan and design review approval by the Site Plan Design Review Committee, and approval of a formal development agreement between the CDA and Alliance Maintenance LLC. They'll basically put into an agreement these conditions of approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions for you. Also, the developer, Eric Gorky of Alliance Maintenance, is available online. And Ashley Lahaki, our contracted attorney is also available online if questions for her as well.
First question I brought up, and Aaron, I kind of spoke with you very briefly. The sale price of what they're talking about is a reasonable price per acre in that particular area.
It is. That's what we had anticipated or actually hoped to get.
Okay.
We believe it's a fair price for land in that area.
Okay. The next question, the development that is not what the building is going to look like, but is there any similarity as far as what we're looking at here versus what's going to be built? We're not going to be building the normal apartment homes that are built in that area. They're going to be a little more upgraded.
I guess I could probably refer that question to Eric Gorky online. Eric, did you hear that question? Would you be able to answer that, please?
Yeah, I did. Yes. Oh, I'm getting kind of an echo, so excuse me if I struggle, but the building that you see in the packet is very similar to what we're anticipating building on that site. I think what Aaron was alluding to is that on this site we use different exterior materials than what the Ashwaubenon plan currently specifies. So we have to work through that with the village staff. But in terms of the actual building, these units are almost exactly what we're looking to build. So we're building actually version 2 of this in Bellevue right now, behind the Crystal Lake property that Aaron mentioned. So you can kind of check that out as they go up this spring also. But in terms of the design, these will probably have a pitched roof instead of the flat roof, so that might be a little bit different. But in terms of the building itself, it's going to be very, very similar. So it's a mix of 3-bedroom, 2 baths, 2-bedroom, 2 baths, and 1-bedroom plus den units. So much bigger than the typical unit. The rents range anywhere from around $1,100 to $1,800-ish. So they're also well above the typical apartment market. Typically, you're seeing tenants paying, the tenants that move into these units are, have higher credit scores and higher incomes than the median in Howard and Ashwaubenon. So, they actually bring up the amount of disposable income in the neighborhoods that they go into.
Is that a 3-story building similar to the picture here?
Yeah, so so they're 2-story buildings, but they have a 3rd-story loft. So the 3-bedroom, 2-bath is actually, if you look in the photo of the unit underneath the exterior shot, you see that lofted area that you can kind of tell it's lofted in the living room. That's the bump out you're seeing on the exterior shot. So the part that looks 3-story. So it gives it a nice height. As opposed to the normal kind of 2-story building, and on the inside it gives the space a lot of volume. Those units have been extremely popular. So those are the units that go for $1,850, maybe $1,900. We're not sure on this site plan because the Howard Commons area is a little bit different with the pavilion on the way and other stuff. But we're anticipating somewhere in the $1,800 range for rents on those 3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
How many buildings are you anticipating on that site?
Ideally about 5.
Yeah.
And then one thing we are working through also, is you might be aware, one of the site constraints is that we can't put in a pond, or at least FAA or airport would make it very difficult to put in a pond. So we're researching with Mao and Associates the use of biofilters instead of the kind of traditional pond, which will reduce the migratory bird problems that the airport is trying to mitigate. So that's part of the research we'll be doing during the due diligence period over the next 5 months or so.
And the final drafting will be coming in front of the site plan for review to make sure that you apply with or comply with the village ordinances and materials being used.
Correct. Yep.
Any other questions, comments?
Any other questions? If there's no other questions, I would move to approve the recommendations on these two parcels as presented
With the conditions.
with conditions.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval with the conditions. Further discussion here.
One other question. Do you have property on Shearing Road in De Pere? Kind of a little bit east of the Shopko Distribution Center on the north side of the road?
No, that's a different company. I think that's Alliance Development. We're Alliance Management. So our holding company for Alliance Management is Alliance Enterprises. So we're Alliance Enterprises doing business as Alliance Management. And then Alliance Maintenance is our development subsidiary. So it's a separate entity.
That's why I'm asking the question. I didn't know if you were connected with them. Okay, that answered it. Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve with conditions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Aaron, the rezoning, that'll come in front of the plant board
Plant board and village board.
and village board. Okay.
Okay, moving on to number 7, items for next agenda. Do we have any for next CDA?
We may. Working through something right now. So we might.
Okay,
Best I can give you at this point.
stay tuned.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We're done.